Hi, welcome to Olive Oil Drops, podcast created by Marco Antonucci. I'm Milena. If we were to decide to approach a person who is choosing an olive oil in the supermarket and studying a label carefully with the following question, "Excuse me, what do you think there is in a drop of olive oil?" The answer most probably would be, well, there is oil is fat, but without giving a concrete answer. Fine, we'll say, but except for the fats and oil, is there anything else? Most probably, after a moment of embarrassing silence, a person will try to say something like, there is water, substances beneficial for our health, dyes, olive pulp. In this episode, we will discover what is in a drop of olive oil. Our grandparents, in their simplicity, used to say that olive oil contains perfect substances to make a soap. It may sound odd at first, but it is exactly like that. So-called saponifiable organic substances make up around 98% of extra virgin olive oil. These substances are fats. I would like to invite you to listen to a previous podcast dedicated to the storage temperature of olive oil, as that podcast explains the definition of fats. Here, we will use the word fats to simplify our narrative. The remaining 2% is made up of so-called unsaponifiable substances that cannot be transformed into a soap as they contain no fats. This helps us understand why, still today, olive oil is among the most used natural fats in the beauty industry and in soap manufacturing. Let's start with so-called saponifiable fraction. That makes up around 98% and consists of fat substances that the human body needs for functioning properly. In general, fats found in foods can be classified as saturated, monounsaturated, and polyunsaturated. They are called fatty acids and consist of long hydrocarbon chains with even pairs of carbon atoms. Olive oil contains all three types of fatty acids. In addition, these three types of fatty acids are present in proportion perfect for the optimal functioning of our bodies. Isn't that magic? Saturated fats, 7 to 28% of total fats. Most of the scientific research in the past 70 years has demonstrated that eating foods with a high percentage of saturated fats is potentially harmful for our health. Just to give you a couple of examples of foods with high levels of saturated fats: fatty parts of animals, salami and cured meats, butter, cheese, lard, some vegetable oils such as palm oil and coconut oil. In fact, we can confirm that saturated fats contribute to a rise of bad cholesterol levels, LDL, are the first cause for the onset of cardiovascular diseases, increase a risk of certain tumors such as breast, colon, and prostate cancer, increase the risk of obesity and diabetes, increase the risk of ictus, diminish bone density, and hoax the brain into creating a permanent sense of hunger. Our body needs a certain amount of saturated fats, and the amount naturally present in a daily dose of extra virgin olive oil is perfect. Monounsaturated fats make up 55 to 80% of total. Extra virgin olive oil contains mostly monounsaturated fats, in particular oleic acid. They are generally considered beneficial for our health. They help lower bad cholesterol, LDL, and help increase good cholesterol, HDL. They are quite stable and have a double advantage: easy to preserve and resistant to high temperatures, so perfect for frying. They are also called omega-9. Polyunsaturated fats make up 3 to 20% of total, are similar to monounsaturated fats. They are commonly known as omega-3 and omega-6 and are considered essential as our body can't make them. They are very fragile and alter easily when exposed to heat, light, or air. Linoleic and linolenic acid are the two polyunsaturated acids mostly present in extra virgin olive oil, and their ratio is perfect, 10 to 1. Some recent studies have demonstrated that high levels of omega-3 in blood can reduce the risk of heart attack up to 65%, and in the case of omega-6 can reduce it up to 85%. Omega-6 can lower bad cholesterol, and omega-3 has anti-inflammatory and anti-arrhythmic properties and prevents formation of blood clots. Unlike fats such as a large part of margarine on the market or foods in low price bracket, olive oil does not contain hydrogenated fats. Let's move on to the unsaponifiable fraction. That is the remaining 2% that contains substances responsible for organoleptic properties. Fruitiness, aromas of artichoke, thyme, grass, tomato, typical attributes, bitterness, pungency. This fraction also contains biological properties such as antioxidant properties with many health benefits, as well as molecules used as an effective biomarkers to evaluate the authenticity of extra virgin olive oil. In other words, molecules responsible for fraudulent practices. Volatile substances. These are molecules that evaporate at low temperature, releasing aromas that define olive oil. Alcohol, esters, and aldehydes are responsible for aromas of artichoke, grass, tomato, apple. An oil smells of apple not because the olives are grown in an apple orchard, but because a molecule emitting apple aroma is naturally present in some oils. Hydrocarbons. Squalane is the main hydrocarbon present in olive oil. Though there is no consensus on scientific evidence, squalane protects against oxidative DNA damage of proteins and lipids. It also helps reduce oxidative damage upon epithelial cells and prevents skin damage caused by ultraviolet rays. It may also have antioxidative, anti-inflammatory, and anti-cancer properties, as well as prevent formation of free radicals. Sterols. Each oil has a different sterol profile that remains the same regardless of agricultural practices and different processing methods, a sort of a fingerprint that serves an indication of geographical and botanical origin. Sterols found in olive oil are the same that are found in low-fat milk products and in fermented products that you buy in supermarkets and that help reduce cholesterol levels. Plant sterols and stanol esters reduce cholesterol levels. Phytosterols also may prevent or retard prostate cancer. Polyphenols are super important substances. Their function is to oxidize, kind of instead of fats, so they get consumed as the time passes. They have anti-inflammatory, cardioprotective, anti-cancer, antioxidative, neuroprotective, and antimicrobial properties, and they also act as immunomodulators. The quantity of polyphenols depends on olive oil variety, harvesting time, and processing methods. The quantity of polyphenols is an age indicator of olive oil and of its shelf life. Freshly squeezed olive oil has a certain number of polyphenols that slowly diminish with time. This is due to the fact that polyphenols counteract oxidation of fats by preventing formation of free radicals that are a major cause of olive oil oxidation and therefore degradation. When polyphenols are consumed, olive oil is left without its natural protection and begins to oxidize. In other words, it becomes rancid. Pungency and bitterness of olive oil are proportional to the number of its polyphenols. The more bitter and pungent olive oil is, the more polyphenols it contains. We shall keep this in mind. Tocopherols are commonly known as vitamin E. They have antioxidative properties, they counteract free radicals and promote cell regeneration. They are useful as a cancer prevention tool and protect cells and tissue against inflammation and oxidative processes that cause degenerative diseases. Tocopherols also protect against damage caused by the effects of pollution and cigarette smoke. They also contain vitamin A and vitamin D. Pigments: dosa-carotenoids, chlorophyll, and pheophytin. Those give olive oil its yellow or green color. We shall keep in mind that these pigments, chlorophyll in particular, act as antioxidants if kept in dark, but start to oxidize in presence of light. Therefore, it is important to protect them from light. All these fantastic compounds and many more are found in a single drop of olive oil. We'll talk about them in more detail in future podcasts. This obviously does not mean that the more olive oil we consume, the healthier we will be. But we do hope that after listening to this podcast, you will choose olive oil over animal fats. If you wish to discuss this further or you have questions, you can always write to us either by email, oliveoildrops@gmail.com, website www.oliveoildrops.com, where you will also find the text of this podcast, or you can drop us a line in comment space on the podcast platform you have been using and to which you can subscribe free of charge. Thank you for listening.